According to market mix modeling, audio ads are 3.5 times more effective if they use stats, like 3.5 times.
Market mix modeling knows that everything is measurable. Right now, we are tracking your pupil dilation, galvanic skin response, and general levels of arousal, and determining the effectiveness of this ad.
Or if you want to get serious about measuring effectiveness, talk to Mutinex. They're the world's leading SaaS provider of market mix modeling. Marketers, think of it as a growth co-pilot. Mutinex. Make better decisions.
I think directors come from all different places and they have different ways of doing things, and different things are in style sometimes and out of style others. So, there's that huge push for very technical work at the moment versus storytelling. I call it the whip wop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Through a shot rather than cutting.
Adam, when you think about ads that really sort of stopped you in your tracks and you sort of can almost remember where you were when you saw them, what ads are on that list for you?
I can see there's always a sense of epicness and really fucking with the conventions and a truth to them. And I think one of them was Viva la Vulva. And so, And so I think most of our listeners will know what it was, but it had a whole lot of vaginas being very happy and singing along to a very pumping soundtrack.
Yeah, it's amazing. What if I told you that we have the director of that ad on the podcast today? The wonderful.
No, I wouldn't believe you. I don't know who's up.
The wonderful Kim Gehrig. She is one of the greatest directors in the world, and she's from Australia. And she has taken time out of her very busy schedule to talk to us today on Black T-Shirts. And it's just a real privilege to have Kim on the show. Welcome to Black T-Shirts, Kim Gehrig. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Are you wearing a black T-shirt?
I've got black and white stripes.
Oh, that's cool. Half black.
Was there a memo?
No, there's no. You don't have to. It's all good. Do you? I mean, when you're on set shooting stuff, what's the uniform? Is it a black T-shirt, a hoodie? What's your usual uniform when you're shooting?
Black jumpsuit. I wear a black jumpsuit.
Oh, that's cool. That's
black
cool.
jumpsuit so my butt doesn't hang out when I bend over on set. But all in one.
That's great.
Right. Nice. Yeah, sensible and graphic.
Practical.
Hey, Kim, you've grown up to be one of the world's best directors. What were you like as a kid? Did you have a camera in your hand? What were you doing?
No, not at all, actually. Not at all. I didn't pick up a camera until I was 30.
Wow.
Give us a whistle-stop tour to that point.
Whistle-stop tour is really ordinary, quite academic upbringing, in Sydney. My grandmother, my grandmother, who's still alive at 102, was a painter.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. And I always had a creative inkling, but as I grew up, it wasn't really part of, where I grew up and how I grew up. It was much more about sport and activity and academics, not really art so much. But I kind of lent into art when I was at high school, and I had a magnificent art teacher, and I was going to be a physiotherapist or doctor. I was kind of like super math science.
Mm-hmm.
I did math, science, and art.
Right, nice,
interesting.
And then my art teacher said, "You can't do this as a hobby. Like you need to think about this as a pursuit." I was actually a very good painter, and I hope maybe in my future I then paint again. But he suggested a course at UTS actually, which was called Visual Communications, VisCom. I think you probably all know. And he was like, "You should try this." And I went to the tours, and I was like, "Actually, I'm gonna move from kind of science physio and try this thing." And it was palatable because it wasn't just art school, it was commercial arts. There was a job at the end of it, so that sort of felt like I could do it. And then so I did that. When I started that course, and had a couple, again, really influential people teach me. A guy called Craig McGregor. I don't know if you remember Craig McGregor. He's a writer and wonderful man. And he also encouraged me then. There was a exchange program to Central St. Martin's.
Oh, yeah, great. London.
Yeah, in London. So he encouraged me at 20 years old, from suburban Australia coming into the city to do viscom, kind of not quite being immersed, he encouraged me to do that exchange to St. Martin's. And I turned up in London in 1997, which was an electric time in London. And I remember walking down Oxford Street, thinking about Oxford Street in Sydney and going, when will this street end? Kept going and I go, "Ah." Couldn't find St. Martin's in the middle of Covent Garden and was just kind of blown away and overwhelmed by this thing that was London in 1997. And I joined the St. Martin's graphics course for
Was that
3 months.
was that the
Yeah.
same was that the same year as Blur did spoke about the song in spoke about the college in the song?
That was Pulp. It
Pulp.
was Pulp.
Pulp.
And Pulp it was Pulp, and it was Pulp did it in 94.
Common
And I remember
people. Common people.
That's right.
Yeah.
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 So that would have been
And
prime time to be at
yeah,
St. Martin's College. You were that would have been the center of the world.
it was mad. Honestly, it was. I look back now and I feel so fortunate. It was a magical time. I was working in I think a pokey room in Sydney before I went because it was good, bank holiday pay. You got double pay. And I remember a British guy, I said, I'm going to go to St. Martin's. I didn't really know what it was. And he played me the song from
Oh
Pulp.
yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this feels cool. And I got on, and I didn't know. I had no real clue what I was getting into. And so I landed in St. Martin's College, 97, and went for 3 months. And I got on really well with the head of school. And again, another really influential person who was like, do you want to stay? You're good. Do you want to stay another month? Yeah. Another month? Yeah. You want to graduate here? Yeah. And then I never went home.
Yeah, right. Wow.
Right. And so
Incredible. And then
you graduated as a designer. That was
Yeah,
your
design, but like what it's like the BA in graphics there, which has a film
yeah.
and video course, illustration, advertising, graphics. It's like a whole thing. And I kind of lent into film and video a bit, but then that's why I didn't start directing. I was more into kind of typography and
Yeah.
conceptual stuff. And I ended up, when I left St. Martin's and bombing around London with my portfolio, ended up actually, it was an Aussie that helped me. Jason Gormley. Do you know Jason Gormley?
I
no, I
don't.
don't.
Adam? No, I don't.
No,
Brilliant
but
art director at Channel 4 at the time. And
Mm.
he sent me to Mother
Yep.
with my book. And I
mhm.
kind of I called Mother for 3 months straight, every day or once a week. And then eventually got a placement there. And then,
Fantastic.
But then, so at Mother, you were a art director, I assume, or a designer, or a bit of both.
no, I started as a nothing, like just someone like having some free lunch and helping on anything. And then I got partnered with a writer because I was more on the visual bent. And we worked together with one of the early female teams. Her name was Caroline. It was Kim and Caroline, and we were like a early 2000s female duo. And it was great. And we got to travel the world shooting commercials with all the best at that time, from Danny Kleiman to Chris Palmer to
Yep.
Spring and Ledwidge to Tractor. We were like doing all the rounds of all the great directors, and it was brilliant, actually. I got to learn so much.
And
And
did you
why
start
did
thinking,
Yeah.
did you start thinking, I want to do what they do?
I want to do what they do, but also, and not with any of those people, but on a set with a director that missed the point of the script we'd written.
Mm.
Then I was like, and it was annoying because I think we were on the third setup when the penny dropped that the director had missed the idea. And I was like, they're directing it the wrong way.
Mm.
This is not the point of the film. And at that moment, I started to ponder directing myself.
Mm.
I think directors come from all different places and they have different ways of doing things, and different things are in style sometimes and out of style others. So, there's that huge push for very technical work at the moment versus storytelling. I call it the whip whop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Through a shot rather than cutting. Whereas traditional storytelling, less so, but then that comes back again. I mean, there's loads of great directors doing lots of different things. And at different points in my career, I've been a terrible director, to hopefully a good director. It's kind of, you grow, don't you?
what do you think you've brought the most to an idea of all the work you've done as a director?
That's a hard question. I
And
bring a lot to
the question is, I'm still obsessed. I'm still really interested in the difference of being creative at a director level, versus at a conceptual level. And I know that I know they've both got creativity involved. But what piece of work have you done where you thought that's a good idea, but fuck, I've knocked this out of
But
the park as a director?
it's also interesting that Kim's done both.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I'm
You've
kind of
been on the
asking.
conceptual side as a creative team, and then now you're directing. So I'm
And,
sure.
I'll answer I'll answer the question for you from your body of work if you don't answer it as well.
I'll
So
answer it, but
great.
I will be honest and diplomatic beforehand, which is I make my best work when it's a collaboration with great
Hmm,
minds.
yeah.
Honestly,
Yep.
when I get a great idea from somebody that is from a great strategy, because I'm really boring. If you don't have a good strategy, you can't make good creative work. I'm very boring. So I look at the end line often before I look at the script.
Ah.
See if it makes sense. Because if it doesn't make sense, it's just, as Lizzie Gower from Academy used to say, it's just rolling a turd in glitter.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
Yep.
so and I don't really want to roll a turd in glitter. So I always look to the original, whatever the strategic idea is. And I really do believe that the only way to make great work is through a collection of creative minds that all bring something to it. Hopefully, my job is to take that and elevate it and sometimes it's a switch, like a switch around. Sometimes it's just a bumper up a bit. Sometimes it's a full rethink. But ideally, whatever approach I take, there's the right people receiving it and collaborating on it, that we get to the best work. So my best work is made with a bigger group of people, I think.
With that wonderful preamble, yeah. What's the answer?
And the answer is singing Vaginas. Because I remember the moment where I walked into the office at some such. I was in the office and I walked into Seth's office to turn the job down. I was like, this is just a montage of stuff. It's no, what if the Vaginas sung moment? And I remember having the thought of like, how do you take this from just a scrapbook into an idea? And I was like, make them sing, do a lip sync video with the other lips. And I remember the thought. And I called them up.
Were they not singing before you got the script? It was just a visual aesthetic montage and very cool.
With great references.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you made them sing.
I made them sing. So I wanted to do a lip sync video. That was my idea.
I love it. I love it. It's unreal. And there's so much humor in that. And then the aesthetic beauty of it is incredible, right?
But this is where I say, and it was Caio and Diego, and like the visuals they had in their deck was stunning, and that was a lift-off point for sure. So there was a definite rock there. It was just I called them up and I was like, I've got an idea, and it's very far-fetched and way out there. So please say no. I will not be offended. And then I'd like to make the Vaginas sing.
Isn't that amazing though that the lip syncing or the singing lips wasn't thought of before then as well.
Well, it's more a visual. It was more a visual thing, right? Before.
Yeah, but and I don't mean that in any disrespect. It's obviously one of the world's best pieces of work over the last 15 years or so. It's incredible. It's great. Did that happen after This Girl Can?
Yes.
So, and was This Girl Can your foray into strong female empowered work? Like, was that was a kind of your breakout moment into that world?
Yeah, I mean, I can speak to that a little bit, which is really interesting. I remember that moment very clearly because prior to that, and as I mentioned, I got to work with a lot of brilliant, amazing directors, all who shared knowledge with me. I was very, very lucky. There wasn't many female directors around in London at that moment. Dougal Wilson actually mentored me on my first music video.
No, great. He just shot something for me on Telstra.
I love those spots. The Silent
thank
Fire.
you. Yeah, thank you.
I was
he's
jealous
brilliant.
of them, and I think that they're exceptional. It's the first thing I've seen this year that I thought, that's a good piece.
Oh, thank you, Kim. That means a lot. But he was such a delight to work with. He's brilliant. Yeah,
I haven't seen him. I don't know.
You have so.
Oh no, I'm joking.
Stop it.
They're so good. They're so good. Congratulations to everybody. I just love them.
Oh, thank you,
Um,
thank you. But sorry, it's about you and your work. So go back. So you had Dougal as a
Dougal. So I was
mentor
a
and
creative. Yeah, I was a creative on a job with Dougal. We gave him one of, I think his second advert was for
hmm
Boots number 7. We went to Prague. I remember going to him and saying, I've got 3 ideas for a music video. There's this one, there's this one, there's this one. He said, do that one and do it like this. And anyway, he came on set the day of the shoot and he really helped me. It rained all day and it was a disaster. But I never forget Dougal. He taught me how to storyboard. Yeah, he was magnificent. Anyway, to the point being, Dougal helped me, Ringen helped me. He taught me what a lens was. I didn't know what a prime lens was on my first shoot. Danny Kleinman helped me. They all helped me. Jonathan Glazer helped me, gave
well,
me
I
the
mean,
best.
and what incredible teachers. I mean, my
I
God,
mean,
unbelievable.
so lucky. And I happened to be like in the office of Academy, John walking the corridors. John, can I share your treatment? And then he'd give me 2 lines of genius to help. Anyway, very, very lucky. But in a way, in that time, and it was a really energized time in London in music video and commercials. But I was like, I say this in a funny way, I was competing with the boys. I was like
Yeah.
playing
Yeah,
in the
I was
same
just
band
waiting
as
for
the
that.
boys.
Yeah, great.
In a good way, I was like, oh, I want to do that. And I did a soccer film, which was terrible because I didn't know anything about soccer. But I was trying to play in their
Yeah.
field in a way. And then I got the This Girl Can script in, and the This Girl Can script came in as 3 30-second spots. And me and Tim Nash, who I work with, he was like, oh, I don't know if I want you to do 30-second spots right now. And I went, there's a line in here that says, I jiggle, therefore I am, which
Yeah.
is it.
Super memorable.
And it's like a Barbara Kruger line. And I think it's worth a meeting. And we took the 3 30-second spots into this big campaign. And it sort of transformed from script to thing. And then in that project, as I was doing that project, funnily enough, with 2 male creatives who I still work with today at Apple, they're wonderful. Was doing it mostly male team and me. And then my music supervisor, Pete Rayburn, who I still work with at Soundtree, he said to me, I was like, oh, what music are we going to have on this? Like, we've got to bring the boys with us. I never forget it. I was like, we've got to bring the boys along too. And
Mm,
he said to me, who gives a shit what the boys think of this, Kim? Make it for the women.
mm.
And I was like, huh, yeah, probably should do that. And I did, and went to the reception it got. And I had this penny drop moment. And I think either I just had my first kid, who's a girl, and then my second. I have 2 daughters. And I think in that moment, I had a few things go on, which was like, what is my voice? I am a woman. I come from Australia. I've done lots of sport. That's who I am. My voice is unique. Listen to it.
hmm
And then I also have one daughter at the time, and then the second. I also have a responsibility as a female director to make work that is from a female perspective. And it
Yeah.
wasn't very trendy at the time, by the
I,
way. No
Well, in
one.
many ways,
I,
it's the perfect script for you to do that, right? I
that was
mean, just the
amazing.
perfect script and opportunity to really do that kind of work. Yeah.
But I thought you were going to say, and we did bring the boys along with
We did
the
in the
with
end.
this. Yeah,
We did.
great.
We did, but not by pandering to them.
Yeah.
We did by making it a unique piece of work for women. The men came. I even remember on set, the video playback guy, while we were shooting, said, this is a really special piece of work. This, I can see my wife in this, and this is
Mm.
like someone else talk. During the making of the work, the men came along.
I,
And then when we launched the work, they came on. But by making it more singular for women, it did it.
I reckon it was just so fucking cool. So I just felt it was about female empowerment, but it's just a fucking incredibly cool piece of film. It just made you feel good watching it. And so
But it is
yeah,
interesting. It is interesting, though, what you said about by being quite singular and not trying to sort of be for everyone, you ended up bringing all the men along.
yes,
Anyway, I often think sometimes in this desire to you know, we don't want to alienate anyone, and we sort of want everyone to sort of like, do you know what I mean? I think having the courage to make it singular, in the end, you make something more compelling, and you sort of bring everyone along anyway. Don't you think? You know,
Completely
100%.
agree. I mean, that's something that penny drop moment of being a female director rather than just being one of the boys was big, but also being singular. And I have to say that I take that into all my work now. I try
mm.
very hard to make it singular.
Oh, it
Yeah.
speaks volumes in your work, Kim. Big time. Sorry,
Um,
Adam.
that point about being singular, having a single focus, and with this girl can, uh, females can do anything. Female empowerment, no cutaway to guys going, yeah, we're part of this as well. But everyone's on the journey because it feels fucking good. Love it. The other thing you said on both of those pieces of work, so lip syncing, which I found hilarious, and with I jiggled, therefore I am. You've got a single line there that was your little bit of inspiration for both of those. A
Mhm.
mate of mine who's a director always says he starts off with a shot, a single still shot, and then works out from there. So if he can get a visual in his head, then he kind of goes backwards and forwards from there. And I was just wondering, do you always just look for that single moment? Is that the start of your creative process, and then you work out from lip syncing, or then you work out from jiggling, or how do you do it?
Yeah. I mean, mine's not visual. I wonder who's that director? I'm interested.
I'm not gonna. I won't. I'm not gonna say. But
Yeah, just
sorry.
interested. Tell
Yeah.
me after. I'm
Yeah.
just I love hearing about different people's process and then reflecting on the work. But my process is not a visual process, it's a conceptual process. So I need a nugget or sometimes, and Tim, who I work with, hates it when I say, he says like it's so unattractive. I'm like a skewer, like a kebab. I'm like, what's the skewer? You know, what is holding all of these variety of vegetables and meats together? How does this thing, what is the nugget? What is the skewer? What is the core thought? And I hope it shows in my work. I like not to impose a visual style on a piece of work. I like the
100%.
visual style to be born out of the concept.
Mm.
So I try to start with the concept, and then if it needs to be shot in a long lens documentary way, that's because the idea is about observing athletes. Or if it needs to be a collage of vaginas singing in every medium and every kind of homage to it, then it's animation. Or if it's making female athletes as iconic as men, then you shoot it in a fashion way. Anyway, my point being, I always start with a core thought and find the aesthetic out of the idea.
And because of that,
I
you don't have a
visual.
style, right? You really don't have your work is so varied,
And where
I
does
think
where does the brands where
right.
does the brand's style fit into that?
It's a good question.
Well, it depends on which the brand is. So, I mean, I think even though all my work is different, there's like a through line still. I like people. I like to tell stories and I like to kind of I like to bring people with me. And there's a kind of little bit of wit and a little bit of kind of, I don't know,
Have you ever,
levity and joy.
there's lots of levity and joy and wit in your work. Is there any have you ever has the brand and the brand voice held you back? Like, did you just want to have like a yeah. So some of the stuff you've done, and I'm thinking with Apple as well, where there is kind of like a very much an Apple way of doing things, and I know you've done some pretty good work for Apple. Did the brand voice ever hold you back, thinking "fuck you"? I just wanted to.
I mean, Apple, I love working with Apple because I just get along so well with that group of people and I love their minds and we just have a really beautiful collaboration. It's like it's been since I came to LA, it's been a really beautiful, consistent collaboration that we've had. And it started with I did an iPhone 11 conference film for them. And actually, I get a bit like I get a thing, and they hadn't worked with a female director before when I came to LA. And I pitched on like 5 jobs and I lost them all to very good male directors, but I was like frustrated. And
Mm.
then I got a what they call a product film for the conference rather than a commercial. And I was like, fuck that. I'm going to make them want to play this as a commercial. and we went
Brilliant.
hard. Yeah, I was like, and also Mark Malloy, who I love, who's
Yeah.
a mate. He was
We've had
doing
him on the
loads
show. We've had him on the pod. Yeah.
of, and he was doing loads of Apple work, and I was like, something's happening here. And so I was like, I'm gonna go hard, and I went hard on this iPhone 11 thing. And they were so busy, and we like in America they don't let you edit very much. And I just went in and edited with Tom, my editor, and we blasted it, and we presented a killer edit from first cut. And they were also relieved because they had so much to do. And it was Simon. It was for Simon who I made This Girl Can for. So he was at Apple. So we had a nice through line. So he trusted me, and we blasted this piece of work out, and it got billions of hits, and they made it into a commercial, and it did everything that I'd wanted it to do. And Tor and I sort of bonded over that.
Right.
It started a relationship.
But that is such a great example of, you know, you didn't just say this is a product video. Like I'm going to take this opportunity and show them what I can do. And I think that's such a great example for anyone who the brief in front of you is the brief. I think that you can do something great on. You just have to want to, and you just have to want to do more with it. And I just think it's such a great example of, you know, turning that into a real creative opportunity. And now you've shot, you know, so many amazing Apple spots. Yeah, it's great. It's great. And
I push hard, and sometimes it's my, you know, your what is your strength is your failing. Sometimes I push too hard, but you know.
Brent, you know the reason why I'd make a crap CMO?
risk and compliance meetings.
Apart from that, it's really, really complicated, and it can also be incredibly slow and tough. For example, like how do you decide how much money to put into brand spending?
Yeah, it's a big decision. And I think we've seen a lot of marketers be really addicted to the drug of performance marketing, which gives you an immediate payback. But I think you really want to be understanding the long-term benefits of brand. You need to measure that over time. And you need to also understand that if you start trading off, spending more on brand, less on performance, you need to know straight away, is that working? Is it delivering? And so you need some sort of model to do that. Without a model, I don't know how you'd even start.
Such as what?
Well, Mutinex. It's the best one out there. It's the best one out there, man. It's SaaS-based. It's really one of the most cutting-edge marketing mix models you can get. And if you have got hard questions that you're trying to confront as a marketer, I would thoroughly recommend a tool like Mutinex.
They're also the sponsor of this show, right?
Yes.
Yeah, excellent.
Hey, speaking of Apple, does most of the work you do with Apple, is it direct with the team in Apple, or is it with the agency, or a bit of both, or how does the working relationship work? Yeah.
I do both. Apple Snap was with Mal, which was great. Really enjoyed that. And I remember, again, it was like I didn't meet Tor in person for the first 5 years of working together.
Right.
We just sent messages through people. Mm-hmm. But I got a message. I was on set in Mexico City looking for a location. And, you know, Mexico City has a real grit to it. And I think I thought, and everyone thought, oh, it needs to be clean. It's Apple. So the locations that we were sending to Tor were very clean. And he was like, no, I want the
make it gritty.
Make it gritty.
Yeah.
And it was the best note I'd ever got. And then we ended up shooting in the main street. I don't know if you've been to Mexico City. We got the main street, which is impossible to permit in Mexico City, which was just teeming and gritty. And when I got that note, I was like, I want to work more with this guy. And then I did Mal, and then I started to work. So the guys that did This Girl Can went to Apple. The guys that did Viva la Vulva went to Apple.
Yep.
So I had people that I'd made great work with at Apple. And then I got to know the greater team, which is, you know, Brooks and Allen and that lot, who are all wonderful. And I just enjoy, because we all get on a call and we'll jam on stuff.
Well,
you know,
I asked Malloy this because, you know, he's done a lot of Apple as well. And so what do you think makes them, obviously the most valuable brand in the world, they make more great work than anyone. What do you think makes them such a good client, such good brand builders? What is it?
They work as hard as I do. Like I work really hard, and when you're working with a team that just work and care as hard as you do, you deliver, and they deliver, and you deliver, and they deliver. Yeah. And when they get something, when you deliver something and they thought it was different, when you like it's a collaborative process where if they've got something wrong, they'll admit it, or if I've got, it's an honest relationship of work. As I find it a really honest
Just
And taste. Does taste come
Taste,
into it?
totally. Taste, I mean, apple's apple, isn't it? It has a kind of aesthetic. And you're right, there's a world in which apple exists, but the world I thought apple existed was different to the gritty Mexican street that we shot that in.
Mm.
I
And
bet but you would have shot it beautifully, and you would have made that grit look amazing. You would have done an Apple version of it.
But watch it, it's gritty. And
Okay.
actually, what I think works well with the phone is it's such a beautiful piece of technology. I love shooting the phone, which may sound, I love the shooting product shots of the phone. I find it quite easy because it's so beautiful.
Mm.
But it's more interesting when it's in the real, when it's in the grit, because it's so perfect.
Yeah. The tension, there's a tension there. There's a
When Apple work is in a box, it's a bit
yeah.
cold.
This show is meant to be
Yeah.
about a bit about the creative process as well as the end result, obviously. And I find what you're doing really interesting in terms of every time we talk to you, every time we ask you a question, you're bringing in 30 different people into your answer. And so from St. Martin's College and at Mother and so on. And it reminds me of back in the day, all the impressionists would get together and hang out. Or in Melbourne, we had, Sunday Reid, Joy Hester, and they would have their little communes, and all the artists would hang out and feed off each other. And it's kind of like when you're creating art or commercialized art or advertising, whatever this is, just getting a whole bunch of crew together who are really good, really pushing each other and constantly pushing each other. You've found your people, and and now you've gone off to Apple together and so on. God, that's a privilege, and that's fantastic. I wonder what you can do. I wonder what, as a listener to this, or as what you can do if you don't have those people around, or as you just have to find them, or what can we take out from that?
Oh, I think when you collaborate, and look, that's not every person that I've worked with. It's just, I try and, get on with everyone I work with, but it doesn't always, chemistry's chemistry. But when you find chemistry,
Hold
value
on
it.
to it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And maybe
value
that's
it.
the takeout. If you do find someone you work,
Chemistry. That's an interesting one because I think collaboration gets talked about a lot, but I think we all know there's good collaboration, bad collaboration, and too much collaboration. I like chemistry as the word that we look for with people we want to do creative things with. I think it's a good way to think about it.
yeah, because it's implying there's something good. We didn't just work together; we worked together and something magic happened, and that's the difference. And then maybe just holding on to that and the keep on and wanting to beat the boys as well, and just the slight competitiveness in trying to outdo each other's level of creative output. It's really, really cool to hear. I like you talking about it.
But I find that inspiring.
Yeah,
I just to that point, when I was at Mother and I was there for quite a long time, and I was there in the such a golden moment, which was the early 2000s when there was 30 people, I think. And then 35 and then 40 and it kept growing. But every time a team came in, there was a frisson, you know what I mean? There was a little light and you'd be like, oh, they did something good, and it inspire you. And you say competitive, but it's more inspiration, I think. It's like, oh, that's cool
yeah,
I'd like to do something like that. And yeah, I feel alive when I'm in a moment,
yeah.
So I had a moment at St. Martin's in the 90s. I was lucky enough to be a Mother in a very exciting time, lucky enough to be in Academy while Glazer's walking around the building, lucky enough to be at some such in the early days. I feel very lucky to work with Apple in a great moment.
Two of the biggest things you've done, This Girl Can and Viva la Vulva, are very much about being a champion of femininity
And the latest Nike work
yep,
from the Super
yep,
Bowl as well. Yeah.
yep, and female empowerment. How do you approach that versus the equivalent for men, and versus trying to say something equally as empowering? Or do you reckon it's just not the moment to do that in society? Just leave the men alone. It's about women rising up.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't done well at that, but I know why. But no, what I do think is, and I don't know that I've tried to make female empowerment work. I've just tried to be honest about women. Haven't be honest about what it's like to be a woman. I don't think it's, yes, I guess the outtake is female empowerment, but it's more about
Yep.
making work for women with an honest point of view of what it is like to be a woman. And that goes across all those three pieces of work. Um, Praise You, Like I Should, was the lyric on Viva la Vulva. I Jiggle Before I Am. In that moment, I was like, the Daily Mail were pointing at Kate Moss's cellulite all the time. And I was like, I'm going to put cellulite on screen just to kind of like, be honest.
Yeah.
Be honest.
Yeah.
And then the latest Nike work, You Can't Win, So Win. I mean, I felt like that for 20 years, which is if I can't win most of the time because of various things. So I'm just like, fuck it, do it anyway.
Did the line get you there again? You said you like to go to. I mean, it's such a good
Started
line.
with the line.
Yeah,
Started with the
yeah,
line.
yeah. It's a great line. It's a great line.
There's
So wait,
absolute honesty in all of that, and there's a nice Leonard Cohen quote. There's a crack in everything. It's how the light gets in. Do you look for that kind of stuff? Do you look so you find yourself looking for the weakness and amplifying that, the cellulite, the jiggle?
No,
No.
no, I don't see cellulite as weakness.
Yes. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. No, but I don't know. But I think that's no, I don't. I never look for weakness,
Yeah.
actually. But ever look for weak. That's not something that's ever
so
crossed my mind.
you
I
look for
look,
honest. You look for honesty.
I look for honesty. I look for actually when I was at Mother, there was I think there was like they had these. I remember going to presentations and they had these boards that they'd always live by, and I can't remember them all, but one was truth and one was fame, and there was
Mm.
another one too. But I think I learned that at Mother, look for the truth, scratch away at the truth of the
Great.
message, the product, the idea, and then try and bring it fame.
Well, speaking of fame, I mean, you've got so much famous work we could talk to you about, but we did want to talk about the one that made us all very proud down here in Australia, especially if you work in the creative industries, and that's your amazing Play It Safe Sydney Opera House film.
Do people like it? I never know.
Of
I love
course,
that.
we love
I
if you
don't read Campaign Brief in
oh
Australia
no,
then.
well don't
So like makes you
no,
hurt.
no,
I'm always like
it
the
does.
Australian thing.
No, of course. Well, look, speaking personally, I think if you are trying to do something creative, and you're Australian, how could you not connect with that film and its message? And it's wonderful. But tell us about the process. You talked before about collaboration. I'm sure this one
Sorry, I
was
think not connecting with that piece of work is also part of that piece of work. I think that's okay. Um,
Oh, that's
you,
enough. I hear you. Yeah, it's
yeah,
fine. Everyone's entitled to their way to view something for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, exactly. And yeah, it's fantastic. But the piece of work we're talking about is obviously for the Sydney Opera House, with Tim Minchin. Do you understand? Yeah, maybe just talk us through that piece of work, how it came to be.
So I was actually in Egypt shooting an Expedia job. I never forget it. And I was exhausted. We'd been around the world. It was a like 3 week turnaround, crazy job. And I was like, I'm taking the summer off, 100%. Michael Ritchie starts hassling me. I'm like trying to ignore his emails, big texts, phone calls, just like I just need some time with the kids. And then bloody Tim Minchin sends me an email directly and says, I've got this thing I want you to do. And I was like, and so that's what happened. He emailed me directly, and I was like, okay, okay, okay.
Amazing. That's cool.
And then, yeah, it was very cool.
and
And
did he
then,
have the start of the
yes,
lyrics
Tim,
and things?
I am just again at service to a great idea that someone else came up with. And Tim is an absolute genius. I love him to bits. He's so much fun to work with, and I would do anything for Tim. Anything, anything, anytime. He knows that. Um, and I just, yeah. So we got on this call. I was in Egypt, which was weird. And he was in Australia, and I'd listened to the track. Such a genius track and idea. He's like landed everything that, I grew up in suburban Australia with no access to art particularly, and
Mm.
with a culture of playing it safe. And I played it just to circle back to the beginning of the call, like I played it safe by doing Viscom that rather than going to fine art school.
Mm.
That's the truth. Got to get a job.
Well, you didn't play that safe. You didn't do accounting or something. I mean, it wasn't. I mean, you could have played it safe, but still, yeah.
Or could have been the physio. But yeah, the culture of playing it safe was definitely something that I understood. And yeah, through my experiences, it was really rang true to me, the message of that piece. And so got on the phone with Tim and listened, really. You know, the biggest job I think I have as a director is to listen. And you know, and I say that because I don't think many people think about that. And in my process, to talk about creative process, the biggest thing I have is listening. Listen to the creatives and the idea they've thought about for 3 years, or listen to Tim Minchin and why he's doing the song. And I listened, and I remember having a storyboard for the job I was on in front of me, and I scribbled. I was like taking notes furiously with he had thousands of ideas. You know, from bullying on a bus to anyway, it was interesting because Play It Safe could have gone in two directions. It could have gone in the campaign I shall not mention's way by pointing a finger at people, or it could have empowered people to come along. And we talked about the Viva la Vulvas, the pieces of work that landed and the pieces of work that don't, finger pointing versus celebrating. And there were some finger pointing scenes we were talking about, and then there was this overwhelming feeling that I had, which is I don't want to go there again. So I want to make sure that I don't point fingers. You got to play it safe. You've got to, you know, you've got to do this. You should think we should never tell people their shit. It should bring people along naturally. So anyway, Tim and I sort of talked about that, and we started to kind of get rid of the finger pointing stuff and lean into the celebration. And then I kind of went deep into, like, I love the Sydney Opera House, and I love dance, and I love theatre, and I love orchestras, and I love all the ballet, and I love all the things it offers. And then I sort of randomly had this idea of the brown suit. Because I was like, the brown suit reminded me of the 70s and growing up in this kind of, you know, society, I guess, that
it's a symbol, isn't it, of that conservatism and
exactly.
Cop shop.
Exactly. So I thought of the brown suit, and I was like, damn, what about the brown suit? And then that's where we went. And there was a really simple visual journey, actually, from the brown suit to the color, you know, and that was our visual journey, knowing that, like any kind of project with multiple components. So the skewer for the kebab bits being the Sydney Symphony Orchestra, the ballet, the different dance groups, all the different. I had all different bits to the skewer, and my skewer was this kind of starting the brown suit and ending the joy. And that was my skill that I then added to his.
When you got somebody like yourself there, you got somebody like Tim Minchin playing some kind of quite significant role. What do you want from the creatives in the agency? What role do you want them to play in a production like that?
In that one, it was trust, because it was hard. You know, Tim is a force, and on set in particular, I need to be with him. On other productions, it's me and the agency, eye to eye, shoulder to shoulder. But on that one, it was really constantly feeding stuff, but also just really helping. You know, Tim is a tour de force of creativity, and I had to catch it and shape it and catch it and shape it. Rather than often you get a lot of that, you know, from in a different way. Tim, you know, the creatives were very clever in going to Tim, having that germ of an idea and working with him to write the piece. But then he is a you know, waterfall of ideas. And it's like catching them and picking the right ones out and making the right decisions.
And obviously, you know, the jury at Cannes loved it. Grand Prix film. Congratulations. That's an incredible achievement. But on this show, we don't ask Cannes jurors what they think of work. We have this thing called the pub test, where we take a piece of work into a pub and we see what regular punters think. And of course, this one, not only is it advertising, it's advertising about creativity. So it's going to be really interesting to see.
And we haven't heard this, Kim.
Yeah.
So we haven't heard it either. Yeah. So let's. I'm a little bit nervous for you too, to be honest. But let's have a listen.
Can I go and come back?
No, you have to sit through it uncomfortably and react in real time.
Or joy, maybe. Let's see how we go.
The Pub Test is brought to you by Ideally, the insights platform where ideas go to grow.
What does this say about creativity? I think it shows the opera house's had a long-standing connection with, bringing pretty amazing shows to Australia. I mean, there was also, there was shots of the ballet, Iggy Pop, the nude performance artists out on the Opera House forecourt, speeches from people like Nelson Mandela. I mean, it's a pretty big cultural institution.
Playing it safe is boring, and the best creative ideas, work, songs, theatre, performances happen outside of the comfort zone.
It covers a lot of ground, that one. I thought it was pretty exciting. And I'm not really a fan of Tim Minchin either. There's something about him breaking out into song all the time that just kind of grinds my gears. But this kind of hit the mark.
What does it say about the Opera House? Well, I think it really does show how I liked how they had the overlay of, this is a waste of taxpayer dollars, because obviously it was considered quite controversial at the time. The poor architect got deported back home. But it's become such a cultural icon. The Sydney Opera House is just synonymous with Sydney as a whole.
In that the Opera House is where this happens. So not only is the building itself the antithesis of playing it safe, it goes against everything you think about a building, which is square with a roof.
There's so many cameos in there that I kind of lost track.
How does it make me feel? Tim Minchin rides that line between giving me the ick and also like his stuff as well too. It's kind of that funny line. Apart from the musical theatre kind of bits that I'm not too fond of, I think it is quite emotive.
What does it say about the Opera House? I mean, institution, right? Yeah, a lot of history, obviously. Yeah, I mean, that archival footage, I think, really pulled this together.
It makes me feel inspired. When I saw that piece, was for over 4 minutes, I instantly thought that I would just be skipping through it. But I was hooked I've been a fan, I've really enjoyed Tim Minchin's work for a long time.
It just shows how pretty incredible the Opera House is and how many great shows that have been hosted within its sails.
Yeah, it really makes me feel kind of proud to be someone who's from Sydney. I think it's like, this is our city on show.
Does this pass the pub test? It's a bit long. I think they could have cut a little bit of chaff out of it, if I'm honest. And yeah, it's kind of reminded me of the opening to La La Land. If they just got rid of that musical number, it would have been a good movie.
I think it passes the pub test. Tim Minchin doesn't pass the pub test, but this video does.
I'm not ashamed to say that I love a little Tim Minchin song, and that's going to be stuck in my head for a while. So yeah, pass the pub test.
I don't necessarily need Tim Minchin, but I thought it was good. It does pass the pub test. Tick from me.
Oh, thank God.
That's pretty good, Kim.
It's harrowing even for us as the host listening to those things, let alone you. Probably one or two mentions too many of Tim Minchin. Did he almost vamp the Sydney Opera House in being in front of it all the time? Maybe. I'm just being.
What do you mean?
Like, it was the
takeout too much about Tim.
With the takeout there,
Adam's saying too much about Adam Minchin versus the Opera House, right?
No, and this was a discussion with the Opera House team consistently, and it's a complicated one because it's a song that needs lip sync to tell you the story, and every line needs lip sync to kind of deliver the tone. So it was a bit. It's definitely it was a tension point on the project for sure. But it was inherent to the writing that Tim be the star of the piece.
Well, not to mention, the Opera House was polarizing when it was first built. And yeah, maybe Tim Minchin can sometimes be a bit polarizing. I mean, so I kind of feel like there's a beautiful match there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, me too. Yeah. No, me too. And like, he's one of the most thoughtful, intelligent people. And he really kind of, I helped him birth that, but with great privilege did I help him birth that piece of work. And I think he stands by the Opera House, and I'm really happy Aussies like it. That's all I care about, honestly.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And how do you? Sorry, Adam.
No, go for it.
I was going to say, how do you think about customer feedback in your work? Do you think about it at all? Do you want work?
Really care, and I'm terrified.
Yeah. Okay. But do you when you think about
it's hugely important.
Sorry?
It's hugely important.
Yeah.
I never did director's cut.
Okay. That's interesting.
Because it means you failed, doesn't it?
Yeah. It means your vision's not aligned to what you're trying to do. It's a really good point. It means you're a self-indulgent wanker.
It means you make it for yourself. It means you make it for yourself. maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what I like to do, I like,
Right.
right now I'm working in the commercial space. Hopefully at some point I'll make a movie, but I want people to, even when I make a movie, to enjoy it, understand something, feel something. There's a mission to the work, and the mission in the work I'm currently making, well, the Opera House, the mission of the Opera House, and one of the girls said it, was to inspire people, to inspire anyone, particularly Australians, but anyone, honestly, to think, I don't have to play it safe in whatever I'm doing, whether it's sport, art, politics, doesn't matter what the output is. You don't have to play it safe, because playing it safe isn't always the thing to do.
Which one is more exciting to win? Film Grand Prix for Sydney Opera House, or an Emmy for The Greatest?
Honestly,
Yeah.
two different things. Film Grand Prix, because it's from peers.
Yes.
I guess Emmy from peers as well. Emmy for the dressing up.
Yeah, for the party.
Film Grand Prix for peers. But no, both. And look, I feel very grateful for any, like, it really matters to me whether a piece of work lands. And I don't mean lands in a jury, I mean lands in the world. So I know from mums at school whether a piece of work has landed or not. Like when the Super Bowl came out, I'm terrified, because it's all like, I hide, like I didn't go to a Super Bowl party. When the lip sync came out, I literally hid. I was so afraid of of the controversy. I get really afraid, and I'm really happy if an ordinary people knows it and gets something out of it. That's the most important.
It's a great test.
Kim, are film scripts landing on your door at the moment? Are you pouring through those? Are you getting offers and are you looking for the right thing?
I'm looking for I love making commercials. I love making music videos. I love making things like pieces of work that play it safe, whatever that is. But I feel like I have stories to tell and ways to tell them. I was lucky enough to do a TV show in COVID with Nicole Kidman in Australia, which she again gave me an opportunity. We shot the week that COVID shut Sydney down. Don't know if you remember that week. We were supposed to be shooting outside of Sydney, and we were scouting and shooting on the hoof. We didn't know what we were shooting the next day. So it was a little bit of a disaster in that it's fine, but I couldn't really imprint everything I wanted on it. But she had my back, and she gave me the best opportunity. And yeah, it's made me hungry to do more. My kids are getting a bit bigger. It's possible now. So I have projects that I'm developing, but it's slow.
How hard is that juggle, being away on productions, being a mum, trying to make all that work? It must be incredibly hard.
It's a lot. It's been a lot. I think I had my first kid at This Girl Can. And weirdly, and I say this to all the directors out there having kids, male and female, but in particular to women who think it's really hard to have kids and do anything, or let alone be a director. And my work got better after my first kid. And the reason my work got better and my career took off after my first kid. And for me, and it was around the hanging with the boys, competing with the boys, to this is who I am. Partly because of identity, understanding who I was and being rooted into the earth in some way by having a child, but also about time.
Boundaries. I knew you were going to say that. I love it.
Time. If I'm going to do a job, it's got to be worth it. It's got to be good. So I chose my scripts differently.
Yeah.
All of it, I was easier. I used to deliberate over slightly average scripts thinking I could make them good. And I didn't bother anymore. I just picked the bullseyes.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
you've got limited time. And so if you're going to apply 2 days of your time to something, do it there versus there, or whatever it is.
That's great.
It's really cool.
Kim, we could talk to you for ages, but you're very busy. I mean, you've just stepped out of an edit to talk to us, and we appreciate it. We know you got lots going on, but we always finish this show with the same question because it's called Black T-shirts. So if you're going to sum up your creative philosophy and put it on a T-shirt, it won't be rolled a turd in glitter, but that was quite a good one. What would it be? What would Kim Gehrig have on a black T-shirt?
I wish I'd prepped this.
That's so good.
It's all in the prep.
Ironic. It's all in the prep. Not bad.
No, that's probably not right. There's something better than that, but I do prep a lot. I do think it's all about the prep because then you can be free on set.
Skewer.
Oh, the skewer is good too. Look for the skewer. Find the skewer.
No,
And
but we can't do this. You can't do that now. We can't jump in.
Lead
This
the
is
witness.
ridiculous.
We're not allowed to lead the
the
witness.
skewer's really good.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
going to be quiet for 30 seconds, and you know that thing, and then you have to talk through your thoughts like a game show,
Collaborating.
like a weird game show.
Hang on. Kim talked about the importance of creative chemistry and collaboration, and that's just what we were doing at it. We were bouncing
we're
it. We were
building-
collaborating. You know?
Well, I think we're just annoying her.
Okay.
No, you're not at all. I'm just like, I want it to be like a famous t-shirt and pithy and brilliant. And I don't know if I got it.
So Brent and I had to. We're doing something, and we had to come up with our own. We did this yesterday, and we had a bit of banter. Brent has actually stolen the best of one of our other guests who's using that one, and I love the fact that he just thought, "Oh fuck it, I'm stealing."
Well, you can't improve on perfection. You can't improve on perfection, Adam.
And mine's going to be color, and I like color written on a black t-shirt
on a black
in white.
T-shirt. So ironic.
Really good.
But fuck.
I reckon it's the skewer, Kim.
No. Let Kim say what she wants.
Maybe it's you got to have a skewer.
I think that's
Cool.
great.
I reckon it's good.
Small type is you got to have, and then
Yeah. Oh, you want to
have
art direct it? You want to art direct it as well? You want to art direct it for us? And
No,
yeah.
but I might
That's
come up
good.
with something better and email you because I feel
You can.
like
Well, I'll tell you what. No, that's good. You can do that. If
maybe it's that. I feel like I've got a
no one's ever
genius
done that.
t-shirt in me.
No one's
What
ever
about-
done that.
But what about I feel like I've got a genius t-shirt in me. Anyway.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
I like that. Let's go with that one. I feel like I've got a genius t-shirt in me. I think it's excellent, actually. That's one of the best. It's up
I
there.
don't know. It isn't.
great.
I'm going to come up with better. It's going to
We will
Pretty good.
if we get our shit together, we'll send you that t-shirt and you can wear it.
No, but I might. Can I make sure I might have a better idea?
Okay, sure. Keep working on it.
Oh
No problem.
no, I know my t-shirt and I
Oh.
want it because I want it on set. This is my director's t-shirt that I've wanted to do for ages, which will piss off all the crew, but I'm ready.
Oh, because everyone's waiting for you normally. Is
No,
that right?
I'm always
Or-
waiting for. I'm always ready.
Oh,
To
it's the other
shoot.
way. You're ready. I'm ready. I love it. Well, that's good.
And
I'm
does that
ready.
mean you're ready? Are
I'm
you
ready.
trying? So are you trying to say to everybody else, if
I'm
I'm
ready.
ready,
Get
you
ready.
should fucking be ready too?
Yeah.
Yes. Great.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, I like
I'm
that.
ready.
That's good.
That's back to your prep thing as well, right? You've fucking done the work. You do the fucking work too.
Yeah. Yes, I'm ready. I'm ready apart from this one. I'm 2 minutes early to a Zoom call. I'm always prepped for the idea. I'm ready. And I expect
the same of you. And that's again that's disappearing, isn't it? People are just rocking up. Yeah,
That's a
there's a
long
lot.
conversation.
There's a lot in that.
That's
There's
a whole nother-
There's a lot in
That's
that.
a whole
mate.
nother podcast. Hey,
It is.
Kim, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. It's been a real pleasure. And just, I mean, keep doing what you're doing. You're putting so much amazing work in the world. And
Yeah, you're
and
fucking
it's-
incredible. It's great.
Yeah, been great
Well,
to have you on the show.
just to say thank you, that was fun. And I love Australia and I love working in Australia. And it's like, it's home. So thank you.
Thank
You're a
you.
legend. Good on you, mate. She was amazing and a textbook example of what you need to do to succeed, I reckon.
Yeah, and I think, look, man, her work does the talking, but hearing her talk about her approach and the way she sees the work, I mean, yeah, she's just fantastic. And there's something, it's something that I think is a constant theme on the show is just how much caring matters.
How much? Yeah, it does.
Like really caring about what you do and putting heaps of care into it. It's just, I just think it's what separates, great work and great people from those who, they just care more.
Yeah, but but we are up to that kind of thing about taste as well, which is slightly more esoteric as well. I can still remember where I was when I was saying Viva la Vulva and This Girl Can. I can remember exactly my moments going, oh my fucking God, who did this?
Yeah, plus the greatest. Plus,
Yeah.
get one of those in your career. She's done
yeah.
multiple like
Yeah.
that. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Righto.
Back to work.
Cheery, bye.
Good on you. See ya.